James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Welcome to a more civilized podcast. This is the podcast you're looking for. You may not go about your business. Stay here, listen, and then move along.
Well, hi there, listener, our sweet, sweet fans. Welcome to a more civilized podcast. I'm Kyler.
I'm Chris.
I'm Ross.
Yep, sure are. And we are excited today to do our Heroes Bracket for you guys.
Yes.
It's going to be pretty awesome. But before we do that, Ross has some important stuff to say.
Yes, I have the news. And also, we're going to go a little out of order. We're going to do our shout-out because we need to extend special thanks to @OPCKilla on Twitter for naming this series of episodes. We are all trapped in a Sarlacc and couldn't name the Heroes Bracket, so we reached out to our community, and OPCKilla was the winner. So thank you very much for helping us where we fall short. Yep. For helping us be that much less adequate. Or more adequate? What
less
we
adequate.
Want to be? Less adequate?
Less inadequate?
Less inadequate.
Less inadequate.
I like it.
Yeah, there we go.
Although that whole setback there for a moment might have just averaged everything out.
I think so. Oh, man. Anywho. So, yeah, thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Next, we have the news. So, first is a really... It's more relevant to us than I ever thought would ever actually need to be relevant to Star Wars fans. Disneyland is raising the prices in anticipation of Star Wars Land. Now, this isn't a huge deal because it's only about $10 per each class of ticket. But, I mean, it is a price increase.
Disneyland does this periodically anyway,
Yeah.
though. I have a friend that
Every
used to
couple
work
of
there.
years, yeah.
Yeah, and she posted about how this just happens every couple of years.
Mhm.
Like,
But, yeah, anyway, go ahead, Ross.
Well, and actually, it's funny because I was listening to, I think it was Ronan who talked about it this last week. And he was saying that apparently Star Wars Land's about half as big as the rest of the park. So
Together.
Yeah.
oh, I was
So
going to
it's-
say half as big as the individual parks. Or
Yeah, Star Wars
whole...
Land by itself is about 50% the size of Disneyland as a whole.
Mhm.
Wow. So weren't there only two parks already? So it's the size of
Well,
the other two combined? Or?
You're thinking of
No,
Disneyland and Disney World. It's just Disneyland itself.
No, he's thinking like California Adventure.
Yeah, I'm thinking like California Adventure.
Not
and...
California Adventures. If you take like the acreage of Disneyland, not California
Oh,
Adventures.
okay.
Star Wars Land is about 50% of that total size.
Okay, gotcha.
Which
Well,
is
that's a pretty good. That's
huge.
a significant area.
Yeah. I thought you were
Huge.
saying that it was basically the size of the other two put together, and I was like, dang, son. That is crazy.
Really banking on that Star Wars.
Yeah.
And rightly so.
well, and they
Yeah.
If you're gonna bank on anything, you can bank on the success of Star Wars.
Yeah. So
You're right.
We would have
Last
said
Jedi
that
wasn't
until Solo
good.
came along.
Oh.
The Last Jedi was successful, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah.
Solo,
Yeah.
less so.
Yeah. So tickets are running in the lower 100s, like 120s,
Like,
130s.
yeah,
I
like
think there's also
127, I
140.
think, was like for...
Yeah. Well, it was one of the
pass,
passes.
yeah.
But, so, I mean, they're still in that range, so it's not
Disney
gonna
just
break the
raising to
budget.
keep along with price of living, inflation, just make sure we keep
Well, and
all of the
also they've got to
undesirables
pay
out.
for the construction of Star Wars Land. But also, the other thing I heard, and it seems plenty reasonable, is that they are expecting a crazy, crazy influx of people because of Star Wars Land. So they're raising prices to help thin out the crowds a little bit, to actually use the increase in prices as a measure of crowd control in the park.
So yeah, I was just joking about keeping
Yeah.
out the undesirables, but
but for
literally.
real. Yeah, literally.
Well,
They
but
want
you
to
know-
keep out the undesirables.
But I mean, like, a $10 to $20 raise, that's wouldn't change my mind. I mean, I won't really get the
It
opportunity
might
to go in
change
the
my
beginning,
wallet's
but
mind.
yeah.
even
Yeah.
still.
Even so, there were enough people that were angry about it that were like, I'm not going to get it. And it's like,
Well,
okay, well, that's
But were
good.
those
That's what we need.
were those the people that were angry just because they read the headline or because they actually saw the numbers?
I don't know.
Or
Again,
because
I
they
feel
actually,
like-
are they people who actually planned on attending it, or are just generally angry because that's what the internet is for?
True.
Yep. Could be.
Because, I mean, again, I feel like that...
Boy, that's a good segue to the next news item.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that raise, I mean, isn't really even hardly newsworthy in general. It's just other than everyone
Like, I
got all
saw
upset
the
about it.
headline that Disney's raising their prices, and I was like, oh man,
Right.
like you, it doesn't really change my mind because I don't plan on going, because I can't afford it. But then when I actually heard the actual increase, like what the dollar amount increase was, it really is not exorbitant. It's a few dollars more.
Maybe someday when we're super successful with this podcast and we have a Patreon, we can put like a Patreon level where it's like, send us to Star Wars Land or Disney World. and we will record our entire visit for you.
Even while Ross sleeps. We'll just set a camera up by his bed.
That seems kind of creepy.
Seems a lot creepy.
Hey, I bet we could get a lot of people watching
I was going to say,
that.
I'm hoping that the audience for that would basically be limited to Carrie, but I don't know. And she's already got that for free.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just not a thing there, Kyler. Anyway, but yeah, no, my thought is, you read the headline and you're mad. Oh, this is going to be a $50 thing. Now I'm going to have to rebudget.
Us, yeah.
But then it's like $10, and I see it being like, oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah,
Whatever.
sure.
Fine.
Your park, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's that. If you were planning on going to the Star Wars land. Anyway. Next, we now have depending on how competitive you are between the Star Wars and Star Trek rivalry, news has been released that Star Trek 4 has been canceled, and the scuttlebutt around the internet.
Wait, the noose has been released? As in Star Wars has finally killed Star Trek and released the noose? What? Sorry. You just said news and it sounded like noose. I tried to come up with a joke.
Go ahead and finish your... Yeah.
I withdraw my joke. Sorry.
Okay.
Woo, we got him to withdraw a joke.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I can't believe we actually did that. But hey, that's good.
It was pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
No, the news is that Star Wars is being blamed for the cancellation of Star Trek. But again, this is all just people on the internet. There's no official... No one ever officially said that. But it's just people thinking that, oh, well, the new Star Treks were so Star Wars-y, they're trying to compete with Star Wars.
Which was fine before we had more Star Wars, but now that there's more Star Wars, it's killing off Star Trek, which I'm just like, okay, I guess?
Yeah.
I mean, Discovery just got renewed for Season 2 not too long ago.
Well, and as you said before the show, like, typically people want more Star Wars, so people are going to be happier with more Star Wars from Star Trek.
Historically, like looking at the original trilogy, that renewed interest in Star Trek. People wanted more. The prequels did the same thing for sci-fi and fantasy. Like, I see no reason to think that Star Trek would be killed by Star Wars being popular right now any more than it ever would have. Like, that doesn't seem...
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just the Star Trek people doing it to themselves. Because not only do you have Discovery being renewed, but you also have the new Picard series that's coming out that everyone's all excited for.
Apparently, okay.
Haven't you heard that news?
I don't.
Yeah, it's fairly
I barely
recent.
keep up on Star Wars news, let alone Star Trek news.
Yeah, no, they've actually signed Patrick Stewart to do another Star Trek series
With Patrick Stewart?
Yeah.
Well, okay, now I'm on board.
See, well, and
Holy
that's
cow.
It's like some
that's
sort
why-
of alternate timeline thing.
I don't care what timeline it is. If Sir Patrick Stewart is going to be at the helm of any sort of ship again,
Yep.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
But I mean, with Discovery and whatever the new series is going to be called, and maybe there just isn't room, or they don't feel like they have the newsroom to push for a movie.
Maybe it's just the fact that they've been seeing diminishing returns on those movies because they just haven't panned out over
very
time.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for a like. I think people got to reframe their perspective on certain things too. It's like before Marvel came along, interest petering out after a couple of movies was the norm in Hollywood. Like, that's just how things work. Marvel busted the model. They didn't necessarily change the game. You know, it's like, and which is why I think there's a lot of talk about being more cautious with Star Wars going on, is because the level of setup that they did with Marvel to prepare for this scale of thing. And again, they weren't necessarily preparing for this scale of thing. They started out more cautious because what they were doing was unprecedented, and have gradually grown and realized we can get away with a much larger scale.
Yeah.
Whereas where DC failed and where I think Star Wars has taken a bit of a hit is that they just jumped into it thinking we can just do that off from the get-go, which was a really bad plan on DC's parts, and Star Wars was less of a bad plan and just more not quite as prepared as they should have been.
Right.
Yes. I fully agree. I think if Star Wars had been more prepared...
Yeah. I actually just read an article
like
on
that
this week, which was interesting. A little factoid that I hadn't known is that because of the tight filming schedule with the every 2 years release schedule for the new trilogy, Rian Johnson actually had to begin writing Last Jedi before reshoots even started on Force Awakens. So that means he was working off an older script, and which is, I'm just like, oh man, that is quite something to have to do. That's pretty tricky, like that. And that, it's just that's too fast to be doing it if you're having to do that. If you're having to make a sequel to something before you've seen the finished product that you're working off of, too quickly.
Yeah.
Yep. So there we go.
Yep, there you go.
Go
Okay,
with
Chris,
the
why don't you go
band.
ahead and tell us what we're doing today?
Yeah, so...
well, they already know what we're doing. Tell us how we're doing.
If you've listened to the villains bracket, or if you haven't really, I'm just going to assume you haven't. So, we've got a bracket. It's filled with the names of various heroic characters taken from currently canon Star Wars. So, from the current Disney canon of Star Wars. And we've got them matched up, and we're going to go through and pit two characters against each other at a time, take the winners, and it'll take a couple episodes to get through all these until we get one grand winner. Now, in the villains episode, we had them fighting to the death, which is a classic style for pitting.
Hey, let me press Chris's reset.
Yeah,
button.
sorry, I just ran out of gas there for a second. For pitting.
I changed out Chris's batteries. He's back now.
Thank you for that. No, for pitting fictional characters against one another. Fictional was the word I was looking for. However, since these are heroes, we didn't necessarily want to do the battle to the death, especially since we already did a full 64 name bracket of battles to the death. And so we started brainstorming some ideas for other abilities or qualities or competitions that we could match up our heroes on. And what we settled on, we're looking for who is best able to win a battle without killing their opponent, which is more heroic than simple murder, usually. Mm-hmm. You get some occasional really heroic murder, I guess, but most capable of sacrificing their own needs for others, and of course, panache.
That's part of the panache.
the panache. And just so you know, these were the rejected ideas that I tossed forward. The best at macrame, best able to rescue people in danger wasn't bad, but it's similar to the sacrificing own needs, I guess.
Yeah.
Most chiseled jawline, the scruffiest looking, the wisest, which we had to discard because that's going to be Yoda.
For sure.
Yeah.
And most capable of dealing with the loss of a body part.
So, Chris, you'll be sprinkling those out.
Absolutely. Every now and then, if I see a good matchup where it's like, whoa, we have BB-8 versus Yoda, tell me who has the most chiseled jawline, boys. Come on.
Clearly BB-8, but,
Arguably. But then again, Yoda is the only person who technically has a jawline in there.
And was originally made from foam that you would have had to cut or chisel.
Ooh. BB-8's made of metal.
So we'll see if BB-8 and Yoda actually end up together. If not, we might just tack that on to the end. But so, let me open up our bracket here, and I will give you now. Like I am adjudicating here. I am our judge between Kyler and Ross. Will be debating. Kyler because he actually knows who all these characters are, and Ross because he's the most heroic of the three of us.
Yeah, no question, for sure.
And so I get to once again be in the seat, which means that you all get to
the three of us, Ross is definitely the most capable of sacrificing his own need for others.
Potentially.
And having gotten in an actual fisticuffs with Ross when we were younger, I can tell you he is best able to win a battle without killing his opponent.
Yeah.
Panache, though, I would say probably you or I would win that one.
That's very fair.
Maybe.
And it's
I don't know.
panache,
I've never rated myself on panache, so I think we should just pronounce that differently every time we say it.
I love it. I'm referencing a really great episode of News Radio, by the way. Go watch it. Go watch News Radio.
Okay, but because I am the judge here, you get the pleasure of listening to me attempt to read Star Wars names off of this bracket. Which Kyler tried to read them all to me so he could explain who they were, and I said, no, then you're going to miss out on the fun.
Which was a fair point.
So our first bracket here, which these I believe are randomly assigned out, right?
So,
aside from the occasions where you...
just as a reminder for our listeners, none of the three of us sport really at all, or know a whole lot about sports.
We're not big sporter first.
Yeah. So brackets are a thing that I know exists in the sport world. I know how a bracket functions in theory. I know nothing about seeding brackets. So our villains bracket was 1,000% arbitrary. This one, I found like a pre-made bracket that you could fill out that had the little seed numbers in it. So here was my thought process. I'm like, okay, who are like the big heroes, right? And so I kind of went through 10 or 12 of those.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm like, okay, and I put them in the actual slots where they were numbered, like this is the number 1 slot, this is the number 2 slot, blah, blah, blah. And then I started to go through like less well-known people. And then occasionally in the middle, someone who is more well-known than people I had been putting in would pop into my mind, and I'm like, I'm too lazy to go back and change it. You just get the next spot. So
I approve wholeheartedly.
there was about the first half was really like scientific. We're going to do this bracket style, like I'm a sport person. And then the second half was like, meh, adequacy's our hallmark.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Well,
Plus, once you're getting up to 64 there, it gets a little
It
hard.
gets a little hard, yeah. There are some obscure names here.
Yeah, especially when you're sticking to current canon.
Yes.
in fencing, we actually do these constantly. So I'm quite familiar with the bracket and
And Ross, of course, is just holding out on this information until just now.
No. After we recorded our last bracket episode, you said, well, maybe I'll just give you the list of names and I'll let you set up the thing.
That's right, I did say that,
Yeah,
didn't I?
and then it just never came, and I'm just too lazy to even mention it. So I just let it happen. But your actual theory of how to do the seeding is pretty much how it goes.
When we do our best obscure background characters bracket, we'll leave that.
Yeah.
Then we'll give it to Ross. Oh, man. That's going to be
As long as you
awesome.
could rank them in order from 1 to 64,
Yeah.
then we can do it after that. Because that's basically how the seeding works. Is that
That's mostly how it... Like, the
Yeah.
first, 32, I feel, are in a pretty good, reasonable order.
And I should clarify, this is at least for fencing. I don't know if it's the same for the other.
I think it is.
For the other.
Based on what
sports,
you just
but-
said, it sounds vaguely familiar to bracket stuff I saw online and have heard about.
Right.
So it'd be way more helpful if I did something like March Madness, but I only throw those two words out in connection with each other because I've heard them, not because I actually know what it is.
All right. So our first matchup here. I will start reading. We have Luki Skywalker and BB-8. So that is Luke Skywalker and BB-8 for our first matchup.
Yeah,
Starting out strong.
Okay.
BB-8's even hard to mess up. So yeah.
Remember, best able to win in a fight without killing their opponent, most capable of sacrificing their own needs for others, and Pinachi.
So BB-8, I think, would probably have a hard time killing an opponent.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they're never going to kill an opponent. That also being said, they're not going to win an awful lot of fights.
Right.
Especially compared to Luke Skywalker.
Now, I think we kind of need to clarify the most...
I am also going to clarify real quick, just in case the audience needs this. Panache, noun, flamboyant confidence of style or manner.
Yeah.
Just, if you didn't
basically
know.
like the hero's coolness, like their ability to look cool. while
Or,
they're
if
being
we want to
heroic.
get historical on this, historically also a word for a tuft or plume of feathers, especially as a headdress or on a helmet.
I love it.
So,
Yes. Okay.
So
So-
if you come across a character with a panache upon their helmet, I will allow that as part of the panache argument.
I think I'm even going to argue who's going to look better in the helmet.
Ooh!
I like it.
So,
I love it. Definitely BB-8.
well, hold on a second. Let me go back. As far as who is better able to win a fight without killing,
Yes, without killing their opponent.
but is their opponent the other person in the bracket?
Yes, in this.
Oh.
Are we saying
I
in
was just
general?
saying in general.
I'd say in general, yeah.
In
Not
general.
necessarily against one another. Just in general, most capable of winning a fight without murdering.
Without murdering. Okay.
Again, if BB-8 is going to win a fight, it's almost certain it's not going to be end in murder.
Right.
Luke Skywalker,
Well-
higher chance of murder, but also a significantly higher chance of actually winning a fight. I'm going to give it to Luke Skywalker on that one for sure. He's better at winning a fight. He is apparently more capable of sacrificing himself for others, Last Jedi. He sacrifices himself entirely, cuts himself off from the Force entirely because he thinks it's... Whether or not it is, in fact, the best thing to do, he thinks it is. And it is certainly a great sacrifice for him to give up what he spent the greater portion of his adult life trying to do, right? Reestablish the Jedi Order. He was willing to go toe-to-toe with Vader to sacrifice, in sacrificing himself for Han and Leia to rescue them on Bespin. He was willing to, as his friends are getting blown up in the around the Death Star, complete the trench run, knowing that Vader's on his tail. That's a pretty good sacrifice. And he's got a lightsaber. Panache all around. It's Luke. Come on.
BB-8, he does have a particular knack for the self-sacrificing, at least in the general droid sense. Usually when a droid is wandering around, it just kind of gets picked up by whoever's wandering by, and then their entire life is now changed, and they are now servant to this new master. BB-8 has a tendency to go it alone, which is unique for him. As far as killing without, or winning a fight without killing, I still have to agree with you on
It's
Luke,
gotta
just
be
because
Luke.
I mean, yeah, he can zap things unless it's another droid. Yeah, he's not going to be able to kill, which doesn't show the restraint, which I think the question...
I mean, BB-8 could always roll off of a high spot onto someone's head, but again, your chances of killing someone with that are pretty high. So...
I mean, still.
I think it's got to be Luke. There's just in every category, I think it's a little more Luke.
I think as far as the winning the fight, that kind of assumes a certain amount of restraint. And I think BB-8 doesn't have to restrain himself and still not kill things.
Yeah,
you know?
like he doesn't have to restrain. He can't. He's not capable enough of killing things
Right.
to need to restrain himself.
Yeah.
So I would agree. I would go with Luke.
I would argue that BB-8 has a pretty decent amount of panache. I mean,
For a droid, yeah.
Using your blowtorch to give a thumbs up is pretty
It's true.
swaggery.
That
I
is
love
true.
that. But yeah, I definitely agree. That goes to Luke.
But see, when both of them walk in a room, who do you look at?
Well, considering only one of them
Luke?
walks,
Oh,
whatever. Come on.
Point Chris.
When one of you move yourself under your own locomotion into a room, who do you look at? Who are you more impressed with?
Luke
It's Luke.
Skywalker,
Yeah.
definitely.
So-
yeah, particularly I would say later Last Jedi Luke, where he's all
He looks so cool.
yeah. he
But
does.
even Return of the Jedi Luke, that black suit is
that black-
pretty,
it is pretty
pretty
nice.
fancy.
All right, cool. Luke Skywalker for matchup 1. Matchup 2, we have Barriss Offee and Farron Barr. Care to explain who those are, gentlemen?
Well, I can do Barriss. Barriss was...
Barriss Offee.
Barriss Offee was a Padawan during the Clone Wars to... I forget her name.
Luminara
Unduli. She is the same race as Luminara, and Luminara is the one she wears a black robe, and she has these little diamond-shaped tattoos under her chin.
I know her.
Barriss is the same thing, wears a lot of black, but has the little diamond tattoo shapes, but go across her nose.
Okay.
Across the bridge of her nose, I should say. You see her in Clone Wars. She has this episode, actually, I guess a couple episodes with her and Ahsoka on Geonosis, and they're running around trying to do things.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
She is pretty cool.
Barriss is really good at following... Well, Barriss, as she would appear on the Heroes bracket, is really good at following the Jedi Code.
Mm-hmm.
She goes... Spoiler alert. She goes evil by the end of Clone Wars. Was she on our
Many
villains
Jedi
bracket?
did.
I don't believe so.
I don't think so, yeah.
Well, and see, and Barriss wasn't... She didn't go Sith. She went...
Gray Jedi.
She went rogue.
She went anti-Jedi Order, is
Yeah.
what she went. So...
She'd have been friends with Last Jedi Luke.
I was going to say, even Luke's done that, so that's not too bad.
But she was great. She was pretty good with a lightsaber and even with 2 lightsabers.
She was very capable for a Padawan.
And she actually showed a lot more restraint than Ahsoka did at not killing your opponents. If there was a way to accomplish your goal without actually killing your opponent, go for that option. In fact, she tries, and then sacrificing herself as well. Barriss, when they're attacking the droid foundry on Geonosis, they get trapped under a whole bunch of rubble and stuff with the bombs that are set to detonate and destroy the whole palace. And she's just like, hey, we accomplished our mission. Like, we've got the bombs here. If it takes us dying here to accomplish the mission and put this factory out of business, so be it.
Well, you're trying to spin that as a heroic sacrifice. I'm not sure in that instance.
Well, she
Okay, well,
obviously
before you
wanted
get into
to-
this, who is Farron Barr?
Okay, so Farron Barr is from the comics, the recent comics. He is from the... I can't remember if it's the Star Wars series or the Vader series that's ongoing. I want to say Vader.
Okay.
It's this most recent trade paperback that came out, or second to most recent. Burning Seas is what it was.
I've seen that. I shelved that at the library.
Where basically it's the Imperial subjugation of Mon Cala, and they're capturing the King Lichar, who you meet in the Clone Wars, to subdue the Mon Cala population. And Farron Barr is a Padawan who, by this point, I mean, he's an adult. He would have been like a Jedi Knight or even maybe a Jedi Master at this point, but he never attained that rank. He was just a Padawan. And he was sort of advising King Lichar behind the scenes.
I actually did read this, yeah.
I showed this to you guys a couple recording sessions ago.
Yeah, that's where it was.
The history one, yeah.
It's like I've opened random ones occasionally.
And he
read
is
bits
so
and-
cool. He's one of my favorite Jedi that no one will ever know about, because he's a historian. He's somebody who studied the Jedi history, wondered how the Jedi could fail so completely.
Who cares about historians?
I know, right? What purpose does history serve? It doesn't make any money, therefore it's useless.
That's right.
But he's getting hunted down. He's cornered by a bunch of these inquisitorius, by a bunch of these inquisitors, right? And they've got their little death squad with them of stormtroopers who are also clones. And he's like, oh yeah, nobody pays attention to history. I remember all of you. You were Jedi Master so-and-so. You were Jedi Knight so-and-so. You were Jedi Knight so-and-so. And they're like, yeah, so what? And he's like, well, you didn't study your history. Hey, clones, execute Order 66 on these Jedi, and turns these like super hardcore loyal Imperial clones on their Imperial masters. It's awesome. It's just so cool. Way, way cool. And he's this kind of gruff, gnarly, grizzly looking guy.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yep. Okay, so you may resume your debate on Barasafi's heroism.
So you, in that particular instance where they're in with the bombs, I mean, you talk about it like it's a heroic sacrifice, but it's more of Barriss just kind of giving up. She doesn't have the moxie to see if there's another way out.
Well, and part of that is she's not as experienced on the battlefield as Ahsoka is by that point, because this is her, I believe, second go-around out in the field.
Right.
The first being a brief appearance at the arena battle at the end of episode 2, the film.
Yeah, she is actually in there. Yeah, I saw her last time.
So she's literally there with Luminara and Dooley chopping apart droids, but that was a pretty simple mission. Go in, kill droids until it's time to leave. Okay, bye.
That was pretty simple until, almost everyone died. But...
Well, yeah. Which is why I question Luminara and Dooley's training, because it's like, you brought your Padawan into the middle of this arena. Whatever.
Well, no, anyway. That was supposed to be pretty simple.
Yeah.
But again, what you see of her in that episode of Clone Wars, she is very capable physically. Forcefully, I guess I should say.
Yeah, she does have good force powers, but no, I disagree. I think it is heroic because she is the one who actually brings forward the plan to Obi-Wan and to Anakin that, hey, look, I have memorized every tunnel in this factory. I can get us in there.
To volunteer to be the one to set the
And
bombs,
so they're like, cool, why don't you go with
but...
Ahsoka? And she's like, hey, follow me, I can get us in here. And then she's perfectly willing to get out. She's not suicidal. She's not suicidal, but when things take a turn for the worse and she looks around her and she's like, it looks really like there's no way out. Like, our lightsabers aren't really working, like, there's really no way out. That really sucks. However, we did accomplish our mission, so I'm not too bummed out about it.
But again, I don't know.
Ahsoka's got more Anakin in her, but... and then
I would say there is a clear capability of sacrificing yourself for others if need be.
Yeah.
But I don't think that instance is a good indicator of it. Just the post-bomb laying.
There's another one, though. It's actually right after that story arc when they get infested with the little zombie worm things. Barriss flat out tells Ahsoka to kill her to prevent the worm from infecting other people. She flat out says, kill me.
Okay, that's fair.
Like... end my life so that other people don't get infected.
You should have led with that one.
She's really... Yep. But what I'm saying is there's a pattern of her being is the mission accomplished,
That's starting to look like a pattern.
Yeah. I like Farron Bar, but... Panache. I mean, the whole Jedi mind-tricking clones into killing Force-using Imperial agents is pretty baller.
Yeah, it is.
It's way cool. Yeah. But we do get just volume of panache with Barriss over.
Yeah, she does have a lot of style.
Fair. So who's most capable of winning a fight without killing their opponent then?
Definitely Barriss. Farron Bar has no problem killing his opponents. Well, because he's also a Padawan who narrowly escaped Order 66 and has grown up under the Empire. So his whole purpose in life pretty much is, let's kill my opponents,
He is a rebel fighting a superior force, not a soldier on the battlefield.
Right.
Representing a long-standing tradition of trying for peace.
Yeah,
peacekeeping stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd give it to Barriss.
I was going to say, it sounds like we're giving this to Barriss.
It's close, and if you can, listener, if you can get a hold of that particular issue and watch him force these stormtroopers under Order 66 to kill Inquisitors, it's one of the coolest moments I've seen in Star Wars, period. It's so cool. But so go look for it if you can at all.
Cool. All right, next matchup is Eith Koth and Cassian Andor. So, who is Eith Koth?
Eith Koth is a Jedi Master. I believe he's on the Council. He's got black skin, long hair. He's got horns on his head. He's a Zabrak.
Are we talking like...
He's a Zabrak.
He's a Zabrak. Yeah, I've seen him.
He is not one of the people to go arrest Palpatine. That's Agen Kolar.
Yeah, so there was someone who looked suspiciously like him who showed up for the later years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I studied all of the Jedi Council members for our last quiz. And
he shows up.
Many of them.
He shows up a few times throughout the Clone Wars on different little missions here and there. And then there's Cassian Andor.
Oh, are you waiting for me to introduce?
Yeah, I was just gonna, Ross, who do you think?
Well, between the two, I don't know anything about either.
But do you want to introduce Cassian just for
sure
those at home who aren't
fans of Rogue One, I guess,
or just not able to summon Star Wars names to mind immediately.
So Cassian was the leader of the squad that stole the Death Star plans, as seen in Rogue One.
I thought Jin was the leader. Sexist.
As far as actual ranking within the organization, that would be Cassian.
Yeah, as far as who actually makes decisions, it was still Cassian.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I'm giving you a hard time, buddy.
I will correct that. The actual mission to steal the Death Star plans themselves was Jin, but Cassian was the one that led the...
Cassian is the love interest that wasn't really a very... Yeah.
He's
supposed to be the love interest
Cassian was
from
the
Rogue
experienced D&D player in Rogue One.
Who didn't get to play his character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The one with the great scruff.
Yep. Ooh, that's true. This might be a good place to drop who's more scruffy looking.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Eth is pretty. I think that's easy to go to.
Yeah, Cassian. He's got some good scruff.
Well, but I think this also falls under the panache, because, he works it.
If... Oh, never mind. They're separated too far. It'll be unlikely that they both show up. Shoot! I was going to say, if Cassian Andor and Temmin Wexley are both in there, then that would be a good scruff competition.
That would be.
Okay. Oh, anyway, I'm going to go with Cassian on this. Like, Ithkoth is a Jedi, that's all cool, but Cassian's got panache coming out his ears. He fetching murders a dude. An informant.
I was going to say, I don't know if that's necessarily panache.
Oh, it falls under the panache, the general coolness of the character, but his ability to... Oh, he's definitely less capable of ending a fight without killing someone.
Well, but he restrains when he's gunning down Jin's dad.
Sure. So he's capable of restraint.
Can you make that same argument for Eth? Again, I don't know.
Sacrificing themselves. Jedi generally
Jedi Master.
Pretty
but then again, what's the last thing we see of Cassian?
Getting himself nuked from orbit.
So he literally does sacrifice himself for others. So.
Yeah. All right, Cassian wins. Fine, let's do it.
Ross,
I'm with Cassian.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I just
alrighty.
Make sure we got. All right. So next matchup is going to be Ezra Bridger, and we've got a dual match here. C-3PO / R2-D2 amalgamated together into one super droid. No.
C-3PO.
The ever together pair of C-3PO and R2-D2. At least they were at one point.
It just seemed wrong to split those two up.
Yeah.
They're a pair or they're nothing, really.
Despite the fact that they spend the better chunk of the prequels and the sequels not together.
I know, but when you
but they are a pair. No, I'm absolutely fine with that. So Ezra Bridger from Rebels. The Rebels. Thank you.
The TV show Rebels.
That one TV show that starts with R. Star Wars Rebels.
Which one? There's two now.
Yeah. And C-3PO / R2-D2 from literally everything Star Wars ever, basically.
Yep.
Even where they logically shouldn't be. Or actually, man, dang it. I'm sorry, everyone. I should have said C-3PO and R2-D2, best known from the introduction to the Star Tours ride in Disneyland.
There we go. That's
I'm sorry. I missed that joke.
Yeah.
My first thought was the cave painting or the cave carving in Indiana Jones.
Also well known. I almost went with that one, but
the Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
All right, so do you guys want to explain Ezra really quick? I don't think C-3PO and R2 need much explanation.
Okay. Sure, Ezra Bridger, he is the main protagonist in Star Wars Rebels. He is the character the show is about. He is young. He was born on the first Empire Day. Literally, the day we see the Jedi Temple get a big whack, and Anakin butchers younglings, and the Empire is founded.
Good day.
That is... I know, right? That is Ezra Bridger's birthday. He's 15 by the time we see him in Rebels. He's just he doesn't really know he has the Force. He just thinks he's lucky, basically.
Right.
Where he can kind of feel danger or sense that maybe that would not be a good thing to try to steal or whatever, But he doesn't realize it's the Force.
Yeah.
His parents were arrested when he was young, so he's been an orphan for years and years. His parents.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. Are we talking about Mistborn right now, or were we talking about something else?
Oh. His parents were arrested for speaking out against the government?
No, not in that case.
Okay. There you go.
There's spoilers for that one when it comes to Mistborn, so I won't.
And, he then meets Kanan Jarrus, who's an actual Jedi, and trains him, and then starts the rebellion.
Yeah.
Helps start the rebellion, I should say.
Start the rebellion in earnest, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
that's him.
Best capable of winning a fight without killing, most capable of sacrificing self for others, and Pinechi.
Well, I think as far as the win a fight without killing, it's the same debate as Luke and BB-8. R2's more capable than I think what BB-8 is.
Oh, for sure. R2's got his electric thing. He's also literally roasted people on his oil.
But again, that's not without killing them.
I know, yeah. But I'm talking about lethal potential.
Those weren't
those
people.
Those were droids, but he could have
droids aren't people.
Yeah, I know.
Later episode.
Yep. Oh, man. But I'm talking about lethal potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. The ability to cover people in flammable liquids and ignite them is in his repertoire.
The ability and the creativity to do so. Yes.
Yeah. So he does have that. His electric zapper thing is also capable of cutting through metal.
Yeah.
He cuts through the metal for
the
Leia.
chain.
Yeah, the chain. So, I mean,
while she's holding it, which is kind of an interesting... I'm going to zap that metal with electricity while you're holding it, and all that's going to happen is it's going to break in two.
Just don't think about it, Chris.
Don't think about what? Sorry, I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the lethal potential is there. 3PO has essentially no lethal potential, so...
Yeah, honestly, for this, he's dead weight.
Yeah, he is. He really
Basically,
it's R2 carrying this team.
Yeah.
All the more reason to pair them together.
I don't know, though. We don't actually see this, but I'm just throwing this out there as a fan theory. I could see 3PO being a poisoner. That's his method of killing people. He's a he's a dignitary, he's not a dignitary, but that's his job, his protocol. So he could totally lace somebody's drink with, iocane powder or something, and then give it to him. I don't think he'd
be able to do that without apologizing to them.
Yeah, I don't think he would either. But I'm just the thought just came to me. If 3PO were going to murder somebody, that would be the way that fussy British butler would do it.
That's fair.
Yeah, that is true.
That would be his best option.
Yeah.
But still, he's just not helping.
I know.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah, but so R2 is our main discussion here. R2 versus Ezra. So, again, I really think lethal potential goes to Ezra.
Non-lethal fighting potential.
Well, you've got to establish the lethal potential first,
okay.
Right? Ezra's got the potential to kill more people. He invents his own lightsaber that also dual functions as a blaster, which is way cool.
But I think Ezra shows a little bit less restraint than I think R2 would. Even coming from a Jedi Padawan.
Yeah. He's got a lot to learn, plus he's angry and super tempted by the dark side.
Right.
Oh my gosh, is R2 going to go ahead of Ezra Bridger on our heroes bracket? Well, oh my gosh!
That's one of our criteria.
Yeah.
See, I think R2 wins the win a fight without killing.
I think I would actually agree, because thanks to the prequels and how things work in continuity, the fact that he doesn't light Jabba's entire sail barge on fire, is pretty restrained, you know?
Despite the fact that Luke does that later. I mean,
I know,
blasts it to oblivion, but...
But yeah, to just be like, Leia, when I give you the nod with my little, robot eye, the wink, you hold your chain out for me to zap it because this sucker's getting lit, why that was not a part of his plan immediately.
We're burning this whole thing to the ground.
He's burning this mother down. That's pretty ridiculous. Ezra, though, he actually in the season 1 finale, which I wish would have ended differently, Ezra, there's sort of a part of the fight where Ezra, Kanan, and the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor, are having a sweet lightsaber fight. It's actually a pretty good lightsaber fight.
It really is. They did good in that.
Then the Inquisitor sort of shoves Ezra off the bridge where there's no railings because OSHA doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And he falls to the next level down. And then he's taking on Kanan and is about to beat Kanan when Ezra comes back up. And then Ezra sort of takes him on. It's sort of actually a cool callback to like episode 1 almost.
Yeah.
And Ezra fights him for a little bit and then he beats him. And he is hanging there on the edge and they're sitting there actually debating whether or not to like help him up or let him fall or to just cut him right there. But like Ezra is actually hesitating on outright killing him. And the Grand Inquisitor's like, I'll beat you to the punch, suckers, and he lets go and kills himself, but which is the part that I disagree with. I wish he would have lasted for one more season.
I would have waited for them to, like, I'd start trying to climb up, so wait for them to, like, try and kick me off and just grab him and take him with me. But
yeah. So,
at the very least.
Yeah. And then Panache. Or Panache.
So now
It's actually Panache.
This is where 3PO comes back in.
He's
now,
the
question
butler.
of whether or not he's raising or lowering the Panache duo is up.
I think he's no longer dead weight, but I don't think he's helping either.
So he's become neutral.
I think he's very much a neutral.
Still
in
neutral.
That,
Okay,
in
well,
that
then in
debate.
that case he doesn't come back in.
Ooh.
I mean, Ezra's got some cool style. He actually constructs 2 lightsabers for himself because his first one gets destroyed. His first one that is also a blaster. That's pretty dang cool.
Because then they start sporting that slick back hair, which
looks a lot better than Yeah. Well, actually, now that I take it back, it doesn't look better. Never mind.
but I think it gives it a little more. A little more panache.
A little more gravitas.
Because he's no longer just the street urchin. He is a very put together, well kempt.
Plus, he's got the total like I can mind control animals.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, especially when they're on that planet where the creatures can't come out in the sun. And he, like, has his eyes all closed, and then he, like, puts his hand out forward, and there's, like, the big mama one.
Yeah.
Comes out, starts eating stormtroopers.
Sounds like we're leaning towards Ezra for Panache. What about sacrificing self for others?
Okay.
Oh,
R2 is pretty willing to go into whatever Luke is to keep him safe. And often Luke actually has to tell R2 to hang back.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, let's not forget
as far as, like, droid courage goes.
Historically... Not in our world, but historically in the Star Wars world, the first time we see R2 is working calmly while droids get blasted off the surface of the ship next to him.
And he also does show a little bit of worry, because, he looks that direction where those blaster bolts are coming from.
Yeah.
So, it's not...
It's not like he's unaware that he's in danger here.
Yeah. He is thinking about it, but he still gets it done. Well, and I think that kind of tends to be him all the way around, because he's also the one that pushes 3PO basically out of that Nubian cruiser.
And off of Jabba's sail barge before it explodes.
Yeah. So he's always the one that's like, hey, we need to get things done.
And into the middle of a Geonosian factory without any concern
Yep.
Man, R2 has a history of pushing C-3PO around.
I will say this, though. Ezra is the one that comes up with the plan in the Season 4 finale of Rebels. Actually, the series finale.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad plan, actually, to get the Imperials to leave Lothal. That they are going to... They lock down the main Imperial building where all the Imperials have retreated to, and it's laced with explosives. And they're like, Thrawn, if you don't leave, we will blow this up. They just didn't count on Thrawn being ruthless enough to be like, do it. I'm still going to kill all of you anyway. Who cares if I lose Imperial troops? They didn't count on that. But Ezra's the one that comes up with this plan to be like, I'm literally going to put myself in danger to save the entire planet. And then when that doesn't work, he's the one who calls in the space whales, the Purgil.
Space whales.
Yep.
Oh, really?
The Purgil.
Crossing over with Star Trek.
And jumps with them to the unknown
They're
regions.
called windfish.
Yeah.
Windfish.
But yeah, the Purgil, he actually calls them in and warps them out with himself to the unknown regions, taking Thrawn and the entire fleet with him. So he literally sacrifices himself to get rid of Thrawn and save everybody else.
Oof.
I'm going to go with Ezra Bridger.
I think we've gone Ezra in each of those categories. I think it has to be Ezra.
Well, I think we
To be fair, though,
narrowly
like,
said that
solid
maybe
values.
the not
very
killing
much
would
so.
go to R2, but yeah, I'd sounding like Ezra's there.
Yeah. He does, like, try not to kill people, but there's a certain point where stormtroopers just need to be scrubbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need to be laser sorted.
Then again, we gotta also consider that 3PO has never killed anyone ever, as far as we know.
True.
And is completely incapable.
Yeah.
100%.
He might have accidentally killed someone during that really stupid period where he was grafted onto the as the head of
Oh, yeah.
battle droid.
But can you blame him? His programming is fighting with the other one.
Yeah, it was weird. Not sure why that would happen. Okay, so next up we have Emphas Nest and Guile Akbar.
Yep. That's Admiral Akbar of It's a Trap fame.
Yes, Admiral Akbar to you plebes.
Yep. Only the cool kids like us can call him Guile.
I'm not calling him that. I don't got
I'm not either.
That's a trap, man.
Yeah. That man needs a title. He needs the respect.
Admiral, it's not a trap. Why does everyone always think it's a trap?
I'll tell you why. I'm about to tell you why he always thinks it's a trap. The newest comics that have come out. So the rebellion, after they get all the ships out of Mon Cala by the skin of their teeth, they regroup at Shoturun and because Shoturun is basically just like a giant liquid planet, like liquid metal planet. So they are able to produce just crazy quantities of metal, and the queen of Shoturun is willing to help the rebels. And so they like outfit all the Mon Cala with like a whole bunch of like weapon systems and like reinforce their hulls, better armor, all this kind of stuff. And they're like, hey, gee, thanks. And then the Empire shows up because it was a trap all the time. She was working with Darth Vader to trap the rebels. And so like the Executor shows up with a couple of Star Destroyers and they're like, why, hello, Rebel fleet. Oh, thanks for those codes, Shoturun Queen. Now that we've shut down your hyperspace and your weapons, and let's just take you out one at a time so you fully understand the depth of your destruction here. And then they, daring rescue, they get the plans and escape. Because this all happens before episode 4, so or before episode 5. So anyway, that's why it's a trap, because he actually says the line, he's like, it's a trap, and I'm like, aha! No wonder you're so paranoid about traps in the future. You got before, my friend.
All right. So we all know Admiral Akbar, and then of course Emphas Nest is the delightfully bemasked, befrizzled, and befreckled.
More like.
Yeah, befrizzled and befreckled. Resistance / rebellion / who knows exactly what they were.
Wasn't it a little crime syndicate, a small one?
She was, but they're working for the rebellion.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're technically a good guy.
As seen in Solo, a Star Wars story.
Right.
And since they're on this list, that means in canon, according to Lucasfilm, she's a good guy.
Yep.
So
she's on the scoundrel.
Because our authority is that.
So was her name actually Emphas Nest? I thought that was the name of the group.
No. If you go, it does come off that way, but if you go back and watch it knowing that Emphas Nest is that person, all the lines make sense for just a single individual.
Right. Cool.
With the implication of like Emphas Nest, parentheses, and her gang.
Yeah.
Oh man, I want to go Akbar, but he might lose on Panache because she's pretty.
I gotta give
cool
Emphas some points for.
Yeah.
I'll say Panache, she definitely wins because like riding around on essentially a space motorcycle with a giant spear that you're swiping stormtroopers off a moving train from, like, that's pretty, like,
and
space
also,
cowboy awesome stuff.
Not having yet been reduced to an amusing internet meme also helps with the panache there.
True. That's true.
And yet we all still mourned when he...
It's true.
Unceremoniously passed away.
Those of us who noticed.
Oh!
I didn't even notice that in Last Jedi. I do have a little bit of a... It's not quite a bone to pick about that, but it is a moment of like...
You should have told us. But they also didn't tell us it was Akbar in Force Awakens either. So...
What?
Like, Akbar is there in the...
I knew that.
Right. But they never pointed out. They never call him by name.
They didn't have to. Star Wars fans like me noticed.
He could have been any random Mon Calamari.
Except he wasn't, and we all...
Anyway. So, panache we're giving to Emphas Nest.
Yeah.
Sacrifice self for others and win fights without killing.
Win fights without killing, I would give to Akbar. Because, again, he is very much the by-the-book military type leader.
That's true, and he is still trying to win a fight in Endor with minimal losses on his side, if possible.
Yep.
And he only goes into the Star Destroyer field when he is correctly pointed out that you'll last longer against those Death Stars. So there's that. So I think, consideration for life, definitely not wanting to needlessly kill, definitely although Akbar's a little punchy in Clone Wars, because we see him in the Clone Wars. And the Separatists attack Mon Cala.
Yeah,
and he's pretty willing to just be like, cool, let's kill him.
Well, I mean, if there's killing that needs doing.
Yeah.
So, and again, also, those weren't lives he was taking, they were robots.
All right, droids don't matter. That's fine. I'm just gonna hold you
Anyway.
to this, Ross. Droids' lives don't matter.
Hey, if it's you or the droid, kill the droid.
I'm not disagreeing.
For purposes of this debate, I'm just going to consider any opponent as being alive,
Okay.
whether or not they're a droid.
Fair enough.
Enfys Nest doesn't seem like she has a... Well, that's hard, though. Because opponents that she knows are evil, like the stormtroopers,
Right.
we see her just casually, like, swiping them off the train to fall to their deaths.
Yeah.
People that she knows are not necessarily, like, straight-up evil, like stormtroopers, like Han Solo and Tobias Beckett's crew.
Yeah.
She seems more trying to drive them away rather than outright kill them. Even though they do outright kill the monkey pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but again, she is giving them that chance later that's, let go of the
And that's what I was thinking, is that
train car.
she's not just, I'm going to just blast all of you and take
Right.
it. It's a, please do this the easy way.
Right.
Which then, of course, they don't do, and it gives us a really cool shot. I love that mountain getting eaten away. It's way cool.
That was pretty awesome. But I think a lot of that can also be said about Akbar, even with the droids. I mean, he knows these things are evil, going to do evil things. They got to go. So.
But I am going to say, I'm going to give this one to Akbar, or this category to Akbar, because in the position he's in as Admiral, he knows that lives are getting lost one way or the other. There's not really any way around that. So he's always looking for the path of least death, you know. Where Enfys Nest seems very much like, I'm going to give you one warning, and then I'm just going to start shooting. Mm-hmm. And to me, that seems a little more willing to go down the lethal route.
I agree.
With less hesitation.
I would agree.
I do not disagree there.
So we have panache for Enfys Nest. We have value of life and or kill or fight without killing for Akbar.
So that leaves the sacrificing self for others.
Sacrificing self for others.
I don't know if we have a lot of evidence for Akbar in this one.
Or Enfys Nest.
Yeah, I don't know if we have much
but see,
evidence
the thing
either
is,
way.
the fact that she took up her mother's mantle to become Enfys Nest, I think, shows that to a degree.
Well, Akbar literally left his home planet to lead the rebel fleet into potentially
insurmountable odds.
Game-ending battle after game-ending battle.
That is true.
I mean, I'd say it's kind of sixes there.
You know what? Well, but the scale at which Akbar did that was much larger. Whereas with Enfys Nest, it's, I have this group of planets that I float around and do this on. Akbar is the entire galaxy. He knows he's going to be going up against the entire empire rather than the backwater Imperials that Enfys Nest would deal with.
I don't know. The sacrifice feels more personal with Enfys Nest.
I'm going to pull back slightly and say, because I feel like these are pretty muddy waters between these two. So I'm going to pose another question. So,
who's better at macrame?
Well, I was
Akbar.
tempted. I was also tempted by the jawline thing, but then I was like, I don't know if he technically even has a jawline, so that seems unfair.
He has little
brightest eyes.
Yeah, he has something. I was
Most
just going to go
scruffy.
with, who do you want to save you when you're in danger? Who do you trust to do that best?
I guess it depends on where I...
I'm just putting that blanket because
Yeah.
it would, again, I can see that depending on what you're in, but...
And I would go Akbar with the same reason why I went Picard for our Captain's episode.
Yeah.
You think Akbar's going to talk down an Imperial into giving you up?
But I think he has the ability to actually get in and do it better than what Enfys Nest does. Because not only, Picard can talk someone down, but he's also just a very good leader, which I think Akbar has that over Enfys Nest.
I disagree. I think it depends on location. If I'm being held on like a Star Destroyer, or if I'm out in space, I think Akbar's got the tactical command ability to successfully lead a fleet engagement to distract while the boarding teams get in there and get me out. But Akbar himself isn't going to be the one coming to rescue me. Now, if I'm trapped in the Endor bunker or something like that, to me, that seems more like an Enfys Nest, like she could actually be the one to break in. And I'm going to go with Enfys Nest. You know what? I'm going to do it. Enfys Nest. She could break in and save me.
But you can't...
She could probably also carry me out.
Well, and part of that question, too, is who do you trust? Like, we're not just talking capability, we're talking willingness here.
Right.
Oh, well, now that we know Enfys Nest is working for the Rebellion, she's one of the goodies. I could see her buying into the whole, this is somebody in danger, they've been wrongfully imprisoned, they're going to be executed, you need to get them out.
That depends entirely on who you are.
Well, assuming that I am me, Kyler, a generally good person.
I'm just saying, yeah, she doesn't know who you are. Like, you are just some rando that is in danger.
That Rebel High Command has come down to both of these people.
Who do you think is more likely to be in the middle of something and go, hey, we should save these people that are in danger?
Because, see, I think it would be...
This kind of cuts against the previous argument. I would still pick Enfys Nest because I think she would be more likely to kill anybody in the way if they got in the way to get me out. Now that cuts against my argument.
She's far more likely to leave you there if there's something else comes up, though. I think Akbar would actually sit and try and do everything he possibly could to get everyone out, whereas Enfys Nest is like, well, I kind of have these other objectives too, and you're kind of looking like a lost cause, so peace out.
Nope, I'm going. I'm still going with
Akbar. I would say Akbar all the way.
I think I am narrowly going to go Akbar just because I feel like, while she's winning on panache, I feel like most of the others are more muddied, and just as far as straight up being a heroic figure, yeah, I would say Akbar, I think, narrowly edges it out. It is a tough one, but I'm going to go with good old Aki. Alright, moving along, we next have Ki-Adi-Mundi and Temmin Snap Wexley.
Ugh, yeah.
So, Ki-Adi-Mundi is...
Ki-Adi-Mundi? Really? I've been saying that wrong for, when did the prequels come out? For like 20 years now.
Yep.
I'm just glad it's written so that I could remember how to pronounce it. He is on the Jedi Council. You see him most in episode 3. Very, very tall head, very pale skin.
Friend of Dan Aykroyd.
Really?
What?
Coneheads.
Oh, Coneheads.
Come on, guys, that was good.
Okay.
I came up with it like that.
I'm
so good.
Good job. During...
That's Mr. Your thoughts dwell on your mother.
Yes.
That's Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Great mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Also, landing at Point Rain, that whole arc in Clone Wars, which is just fantastic. It's one of my favorite arcs. He plays prominently in that.
Yes.
Oh, is that the one where there's the two groups that are trying to meet together?
Three groups.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just watched that.
He's Ki-Adi-Mundi is the one who leads the 212th Battalion, Obi-Wan's battalion, through the caves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they're at. And they have the flamethrowers for the first time. Or it's the first time you see them. That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yep. And Temmin Snap Wexley, he is the guy with speaking parts whose name is never mentioned. In Force Awakens, he's got a beard. It's like Matt Grunman or something like that is his name.
Oh, yeah.
He's J.J. Abrams' buddy. He was on Lost. He was on Heroes as the cop, like Parker or whatever, Matt Parker or something like that.
Yeah.
Greg Grunman, that's his name, Greg Grunman. So he's got a lot of speaking parts, but I don't know that they ever say his name.
What does he speak about? Like, where is he speaking?
I'm trying
what does
to
he
think.
look like?
He's got black hair, so he's got like his big black beard. He's a little on the pudgy side.
He was also in Star Trek Into Darkness as the base commander.
I saw that once and I never went back. So
I am trying to think of some of his lines. Like, he has some lines like when they're in the trench on the super weapon. He's got some lines about like, you gotta get out of there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, now that I can see him in the cockpit.
He's part of the coup, the mutiny in episode 8.
Is he?
Yep. Of course, he's Poe's like right-hand man in the squadron.
I don't remember seeing him.
Yeah.
In that entire movie, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's there.
Okay, cool.
Anyway.
I got it. Hopefully the audience does.
Yes.
But the character was created, I guess, for Force Awakens, but also not for Force Awakens. His character is expounded upon and given backstory by Chuck Wendig in the Aftermath series.
Oh, okay.
Temmin starts out interesting and then becomes less so. As
happens to a lot of us overage as we age.
I'm gonna go Ki-Adi-Mundi. I like him better. He's, I think, a more interesting character, but he's a Jedi, so he's got the panache down. They're both pretty equal, willing to put their lives on the line. I mean, when Ki-Adi-Mundi dies, he's literally leading the charge of his clones. And then what was the third category?
It's the ability to win a fight without killing them.
That's right. Ki-Adi-Mundi is pretty pacifist, for the most part. Like, it's literally when he's absolutely forced to, will he kill you?
Yeah.
And it's also a question
And Snap is much more of a fighter pilot jock, like, hey, let's just blow it up.
It's also a question of, like, restraint, discipline, which, I mean, it's hard to beat a Jedi Master on the Council.
Yeah, like a Council Master,
Yeah,
so
I'm going to have to agree. I can't think of any good argument for Wexley.
All right.
Sorry, man. Sorry, Wex.
This next one's gonna be interesting.
I have no disagreements. Okay. I might disagree with this. It's not going to be interesting. I got to look at what it is, though. All right. So our next pair is Depa Bilaba
Yep.
and Lando Calrissian.
Depa Bilaba
Minor
was
character that you may
Kanan
have heard of.
Jarrus's trainer, master. She is briefly in episode 1, I think, on the council.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why it sounds
that's
familiar.
right. Yeah, you told me that.
She's killed in Clone Wars, sacrificing herself so that her Padawan can get to safety. She literally is like, wait, what is this? She overhears the clones receive the order 66, because they go, like, they built this little campfire or whatever, and the clones get, like, the little ping, and they're like, oh, I'll be back. I'm going to go take this phone call, basically. And they get order 66. She hears it and is like, you need to run. I will buy you time. Go. And she force pushes Kanan away to get him to run away, and she starts taking out her clones, and then they get her. So she's clearly willing to self-sacrifice.
Definitely has that.
She actually, in that same comic too, that same series, speaking of lethal restraint, because Kanan, like a lot of the Padawans that it talks about growing up in the Clone Wars, they're much too focused on the glory and the flash and the I'm a cool warrior, aren't I neat? And she is specifically shown several pages of comic with no words at all, just going through forums with him trying to show Kanan, like, this is what being a Jedi is really about. It's not about the flashiest kill, it's about inner peace, inner strength, like restrain yourself, learn these foundations first, and all the rest will come and it will just be fluff. But this is where your foundation needs to be, not in combat. And she gets like 3 or 4 pages without any dialogue, just showing her come here, do this. So she's pretty restrained.
Yeah. So how does she match up against Lando, the only black man in the universe, Calrissian?
Well, I think Lando does have all of those. I mean, he does have good examples for each of those criteria that we're working under, but it's tough to beat her in particular, except for maybe Panache.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I would, I don't know if I could just unilaterally say number 1, but he would definitely be in contention for number 1 in Panache in the Star Wars galaxy.
I think he would be number 1.
Yeah,
I can't think of anybody with more
anyone.
flair
I'm
than
allowing
him.
for that possibility, but it's like,
But
he's definitely a contender. At the
If
very
you open
least.
up to good guys and bad guys, I think Dryden Voss would get
No,
a run for his money.
not as much.
Those little half capes, those
He's
black
got a
suits.
lot of panache, but not as much as Lando. Lando is the king of that suave swagger. There's just
no one sells cult malt liquor like
yep.
Lando.
Yeah. So he's definitely got her beat by a mile on that one, but the other two, I think Depa Bilaba wins. Because Lando is definitely of the Han Solo variety of shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
and definitely a little later to the party on being a heroic version of that.
Right.
Yeah,
Than
because it's would you like to sacrifice for your friends or sell your friends out for personal safety? I'll take the latter, Darth Vader.
Yeah. Well, even also just up and taken off because he was done with the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Solo.
like in Solo, there is no point of real heroism there. Like the closest he gets is running out to grab L3's body, but
even that is still mostly personal.
Exactly.
He's not doing it for other people. He's doing it because he cares about her.
Yeah, exactly. So
The man didn't even wait to get paid. Was so done with the whole situation.
Yeah, it's just like no,
He just
take my ship and leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely
Depa Bilaba.
Depa.
yeah, I agree.
There you go. Man,
right.
we knocked out Lando Calrissian in the first round. I bet some people are going to be mad.
Well, I mean, what can you say though? Lando's awesome, but he's definitely a morally dubious awesome at a lot of
for sure.
a lot of points in this narrative.
This one's going to be tough. This next one, I think.
All right, Next we have Plo Koon and Wedge Antilles.
This is tough.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Off the bat, I'm going to give it to Plo. Actually.
I am too. Honestly, it's
Really?
tough.
Agreement. Why don't we explain to everyone who they are?
So, oh, that's right. You give us Plo, and I'll.
Plo Koon, he's a Jedi Master. He's shot down over Cato Nemoidia in Episode 3. He's got the little metal goggles and the metal mouthpiece because his planet is like oxygen is harmful to them, so he has this little rebreather thing. But he's friends with Ahsoka. If you've watched Clone Wars, you know him from right away. At the
He's the
beginning.
one who found her, basically.
Who found her. He shows incredible heroism and self-sacrifice. He literally goes out into the vacuum of space on his own without any protective gear because his skin can handle it for a minute
And
to
he's got
battle
that
off
rebreather
some
protecting
droids
him,
while his men stay inside. Like, that's pretty dang heroic,
I mean,
man.
Plo is pretty freaking awesome.
He's
just
amazing.
around,
He's one of my
all
favorite
around. Yeah.
people on the Jedi Council, period.
So Wedge was the X-Wing pilot, the only other X-Wing pilot surviving with Luke.
Yeah.
Right?
Through the
Yeah.
entire course of the original trilogy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Was on the original Death Star run.
He's also in Snowspeeder on Hoth.
Yeah.
And survives
that's right.
that attack.
That's true. Wedge was the one who, in the Death Star trench run, his engine got hit.
Yeah.
And Luke told him to peace out.
And he had to leave because he wasn't going to do any good back there.
Right.
And he, and he literally, like, tries to argue and stay.
Sorry!
Yeah, and then Luke is like...
Well,
no.
he doesn't really argue.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he is apologetic about
Yeah,
leaving.
he is. He feels bad. But see, that's honestly...
He also, on the second Death Star run, was the one who was in there with Lando. He went up
Right.
and shot the shield generator so that Lando could take the final shot
Flying
on
into the guts of the Death Star is pretty ballsy.
But honestly, I feel like Wedge still... Okay,
Okay,
it were
so
me...
Yeah, it's Plo.
If it were me as Wedge in the trench instance, I still
wouldn't
would
be
have stuck
cool?
around.
Oh.
I mean, I do understand, yeah, he couldn't really do much good, but even just as a blocker for the TIE fighters coming up behind, he can slow them down a little.
That's what Porkins was for.
Still.
And Biggs. Let's not forget Biggs.
Poor old Biggs. Deserved better.
He also had an order to leave. Was Luke ranked higher than him? Like, he really
don't
shouldn't have
think-
been,
No,
but
not
he
at
was
that
calling
point.
a lot of
Yeah.
shots.
No, I don't believe Luke outranked him at all.
I mean, he logically should not have.
Yeah.
but
No,
just-
I don't think he did. Luke
Fair
gets
enough.
an immediate promotion afterwards, but...
Yeah.
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 Which might be where he jumps Wedge because of that incident, actually, if we want a theory craft. But
Anyway.
anyway,
All right, it's Plo.
yeah, it's Plo. Totally Plo.
All right. Well, I'm not going to
There we
argue
go.
with you. All right.
See, okay, so just looking ahead, I have my opinions on this next matchup. I will still let Chris introduce it. But this is one of the quirks of seeding a bracket like this, is you're going to have some of the awesome people going up against some
Awesome
not
people,
nearly
yes.
as awesome
Or
people.
Well, that's the point, though, is weed out the
Right.
lesser people.
Because
the
you
one
want to have
after
better
this
matchups
is
later.
It's
gonna
going
be
to be
fun,
awesome.
too, yeah.
I
Oh,
so
dang.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one
Okay.
I'm so excited
dear.
So
for.
let's get there. Next up is a little fellow named Yoda. No last name, no other information, just
Yoda of Yoda's species.
The little
Yes.
green dude down in Dagobah.
Yeah, no, he needs no
From
further
the planet
name.
of Yoda's
One
homeworld.
word, like Madonna.
Yeah. Or Prince.
Yeah. Well, except for the whole artist formerly known as and then a little Muppet named Yoda and matched up against Master Yoda is Korsh Panaka, namely the captain of the Royal Guard in Episode 1.
Yep.
The second black man.
He later
Yes.
becomes he later becomes a Moff and almost turns
that's right. Yeah,
almost
you told us
turns
about
Leia
that.
in, and then he gets blown up. Yep. It's pretty awesome. He's great, but there is no question on any of it.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
Yoda
it's
wins.
clearly Korsh here. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
No, Yoda is everything.
Yeah.
Yoda goes ahead. I almost didn't put Quarsh in here and just put Yoda as a bye in the second round.
well, I mean, it's Yoda. You could get into each of these specific ones and debate it if you wanted, but it's like Yoda is one of the most iconic heroes of all time at this point, really.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
There it is. Oh, I'm excited for this matchup.
Okay. So, matchup number 10, we have Anakin Skywalker, who was a hero for quite a while, and Ahsoka Tano, his apprentice, Padawan apprentice. Best known from Clone Wars and a rather dramatic appearance in Rebels.
Yep. True that. Good on you, Chris, for knowing that. That's good.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh man, I want Ahsoka.
The funny thing is
Ahsoka is the better hero.
I was going to say, there's a strong argument to be made there.
Because
she's-
as far as restraint and killing goes, she's easily, objectively,
I
more
doubt-
restrained in killing.
I am pretty sure she has killed at least half as many younglings as Anakin.
Yeah, but just, like, in those moments of anger, she restrains herself where Anakin does not.
Yeah.
Period. So she wins on that
Yeah.
account. Panache, she's got 2 lightsabers. Anakin has one.
Well, yeah,
Well, she does eventually.
Well, yeah. No, but then she gets two.
Well,
anyway.
she starts that at the end of Clone Wars.
Yeah,
Very
but I'm saying
briefly,
eventually she does that.
But, yeah.
But willingness to sacrifice.
Well, and I mean, even just looking at, like, she cuts a pretty striking figure. I mean, as a kid, she's not quite so imposing, but you see her come back in Rebels, so that's...
Yeah.
I'm going to give sacrificing to Anakin. How many Padawans did he sacrifice to have what he wants? For the peace and safety of the galaxy. No, I think it's Ahsoka.
I mean, he does die sacrificing himself to save people, but that's too little too late to top anyone on this list, I would say.
But Ahsoka literally, like, she sacrifices the thing she wants most, which is a Jedi knighthood to stand up for her principles, which are correct.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's offered to her, and she turns it down. It's Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, even just because...
I thought you were going to put up more of a fight with that, Ross.
No. Well,
And then I thought about it for 10 seconds and realized who I was talking to.
because Anakin falls so hard, I
Yeah.
mean, it's even if you tried to cut it, right at the beginning of episode 3 and just think of everything before, it's
Even
still
in the Clone
tough.
Wars, though, he's still...
Because you can
flirting
always
with the
still
dark
see
side
those
a lot.
seeds. Yeah, it's
Well,
it's
and yet
Ahsoka.
he always, even without the dark side, without all that, he always had a streak of just not being the most heroic.
Yeah.
Like,
I would be
or at
very-
least doing heroic things in less than heroic ways, you could argue.
Yeah, that's true.
But, I mean,
He's more chaotic good.
Yeah, but we were discussing before, too, where it's just like, episode 2, Anakin picks up, he runs into Padme, and it's just like, what rules that I've spent the last 10 years living with? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't even seem to occur to him that this is something he's not supposed to do.
Yeah.
That he just chases after her, and there's no reason for it. He just doesn't care, apparently. And
I am on that particular matchup of Anakin versus Ahsoka, listeners, though. I am very interested to hear what you have to say. Please let us know on that one if you agree or if you think Anakin should have won. I think that is one of the more interesting matchups we had.
Definitely. Yeah, even with how quickly we came
Especially
to that
because of
conclusion.
their personal relationship. It just is juicy.
Well, and the fact that we see a good fight between the two of them.
Yeah, we do in
Later in
Rebels.
Rebels,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness, it's so good.
It is good.
Okay, moving on. Enough
All
gushing
right.
about those two.
number 11 here, we have Sacy Tin?
Sacy Tin?
Sacy Tin, sure, we'll say that. And Commander Cody
Yep.
of the clones.
Here's the lightsaber fame.
Yeah.
That too.
Yep.
Of Clone Wars fame.
Commander Cody, he is the highest ranking clone in the army.
Is it really? Overall.
Mm-hmm. Like, the only people that outrank him are Force users. He's like the marshal commander or something of the entire Grand Army of the Republic.
Why wasn't he made like an ARC Trooper or something?
He was essentially... he was like special forces and stuff, but also he was literally helping the Jedi Council plan the war. That's where he spent most of his time.
Oh, really?
Was being like, we should go here next. We should send this unit here. We need to attack this planet. We need to defend here with these units. Like,
Yeah.
that's why we don't see him as much. He's literally planning the war with the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Sacy Tin.
Which is also why he shows up on really important missions like, oh my gosh, we've tracked Grievous down to
We're
Utapau.
cornering
And he's like,
Grievous here.
okay, that's a job big enough to warrant my personal attention and attendance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. I don't.
That would also explain why Palpatine's very first order is explicitly personally to Cody.
He knows him by name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like he's the highest ranked one, so we start with him and then we move along.
And he and he specifically, he
Something
tells
like that.
Cody, spread the word.
Because I always did find it intriguing in episode 3 that he personally called Cody, and I was like, did he just have it out for Obi-Wan in particular there? And
I
he knew
think
that Cody was
probably.
there. But if Cody's in charge, it's like, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and he also probably would have it personally out for Obi-Wan, but...
Wants to make sure that order gets through.
Well, and wants to make sure that it's just like, you are like the most likely person to be able to meddle with my control over Anakin, so that's not a thing I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly right. Yeah. Keep Obi-Wan assigned to Cody so that he can have Cody take out Obi-Wan, who is really the only thing in the way of full manipulation of Anakin. Yep.
And I'm not familiar with Sacy Tin.
He is one of the 4 people to get cut down by Palpatine.
Which one?
Right, one of
The one with
masters.
horns coming out the side of his head. He's got
Okay.
kind of like pinkish orange skin.
Right. Okay. The one I always think of, El Diablo.
He does kind of look like Diablo, like from the first
from the
Diablo
games,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny.
Sorry.
I'm never going to be able to unhear that.
I know, right?
Diablo. I mean, he gives his life trying to take down the most dangerous person in the galaxy. Saisi-Tin does.
And did walk in knowing that's what he was going to do. Yeah.
And knowing that his life could potentially...
Yeah, knowing this was going to be hard.
Knowing that, his life was on the line. And he may not walk
in
out.
a more serious way than it probably ever had been for him.
Yep.
And he goes willingly, and doesn't...
Well, but I mean, arguably, he could have been looking at that as though it's like, we got 4 Jedi here to arrest this dude. Like, it's going to be all right.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're looking at the Sith...
Yeah, I don't get the feeling that they were like, there's 4 of us. I think it was like... Yeah, I get the feeling that it's like, you 4 are here and available and probably won't die. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
Because you see them when they actually fan out behind Mace Windu, you see all of them like... Okay, here we go. Let's get ready. You know, like the way they hold their lightsabers, you can tell that they're like, this is going to push me to the limit.
Because I mean, he was one of the masters, right? He was on the council.
Yeah.
The council's been looking for this Sith for several years now.
10 years.
You kind of have a certain spot for this guy you're about to go arrest.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean,
To be fair on that point, they probably weren't looking to take him alive. I mean, Mace Windu literally says he's too dangerous to be left alive.
Yeah.
They were going not to really arrest him, but it was.
Well, they do say they're arresting him. He arrives at that conclusion after the dude cuts down 3
I think it
Jedi.
was more of a, we're going to offer him the chance to surrender and submit to arrest. He's not going to take it, which means we need to then kill him immediately.
Definitely could argue that.
That's the vibe I get from all of them. And then Cody, I mean, he's a clone. He's throughout the Clone Wars, we see him pop in and out in very dangerous situations. I mean, Point Rain is extremely dangerous. He's leading right there alongside the Jedi. I mean, he's right there in the thick of things.
Well, and I believe, I'm thinking specifically of the Clone Wars movie. I believe he was the one that was trapped in the monastery when Anakin and Ahsoka had to flee with the...
No, that's
Grub.
Rex. That's
Rex. That was Rex? Okay, never mind. My bad.
No, but there are lots of moments throughout the Clone Wars, though, where Cody does say, like, we're trapped, we will buy you time, get out of here, and then they get saved, but they don't know that that's going to be the case, and they're very willing to be like, yeah, well, this is what we were literally born for. Buy them time, gentlemen, here we go. He shoots a giant eel, a Rishi eel, and saves a bunch of... That's actually a really good episode, the pilot episode of the Clone Wars. The Rishi Moon one. Where they...
Is that him?
Oh. It's Cody and Rex that go for the inspection.
Yeah.
But Cody, I believe, is the one who gets the kill on the eel. And they help, save everything. Yeah, that's a very good episode. But anyway.
So as far as who's the better
This
hero,
is kind of 6s.
This is a tough one.
We don't see Saisi-Tin do a whole lot in the movies and not much more in Clone Wars, but we do see Cody doing a lot of heroic things.
Yeah.
So where most everything is kind of 6s, I'm going to go with panache as the winning factor here and give it to Cody. Just because we see him be more dashing, the dashing hero kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Though
And
more
it's
in
not,
Clone Wars.
It's not that dashing being cut down immediately by Sidious.
Yeah.
True.
Well, but I mean, he also just doesn't really have any flair other than his normal head horns. So I mean...
Baron Farr, by the way, is the same species as...
Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking that.
Yeah, I think I would also go with Commander Cody.
I think for sure volume of heroics, it goes to him.
Just like in Order 66, the
Shooting
clone
down.
advances where a Jedi doesn't. I had to.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the whole shooting down Obi-Wan notwithstanding, it's like he's programmed to do that. So.
Right. Just like where we would say, the moment Anakin becomes Darth Vader, he's no longer on the heroes list, I would say, when Order 66 gets activated, you're no longer playing for the hero team.
That's less the clones' fault as it is their leadership's fault. Because, I mean, weren't you saying there was something about, there was a story somewhere, one of the comics, where the clones have to deal with cutting down their generals?
Yeah.
So, I mean...
there are a couple. There's, in Season 6 of the Clone Wars, one of the clones gets a head injury that sort of triggers Order 66 early, and he shoots one of his Jedi generals and is detained, and it almost leads to the revelation of what's really going on. And then Sidious pulls the strings and hushes everybody up permanently that knows... Shush! Woo!
It was Tyler's turn for
It was my turn. Crap. Sorry, guys. And then there is in one of the Kanan clones. There were 2 series of comics focused on Kanan, And in one of them, he's getting hunted down by the clones as a kid, and he says something that basically sparks memory in one of the clones, and he's kind of like, wait a minute, he's right. Like, why did we turn on the Jedi? We were fighting along. Why did we do this? And he basically has this moment of illumination where he's kind of shakes off the clouds a little bit and allows Kanan to escape, and then is killed by the other clone who is like, no, they're traitors, those were the orders we were given, and then he guns him down.
Mm-hmm. See, and so that's why I feel like that, especially a lot of these clones that we see in the Clone Wars still would have been considered good people, good heroic people, even after that order.
Oh yeah, by the populace who didn't know what was going on.
Well, I mean, but just in general, weighting it all against each other, that it's like, yeah, this is a bad act, but even if there wasn't any like force mind control or programming at play, so he had his orders, and his following orders is not always a sufficient justification for doing horrible things, but it can cover some.
Well, and even in that situation where he would have then gotten back to, Coruscant, where he could get some news and be like, oh, the Jedi have actually tried to kill the Chancellor. Yeah, this was a good thing for us to do, even though...
And also, to be fair, he didn't kill Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
He tried.
Arguably.
Attempted murder.
Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe he fought it just a little.
Cody didn't actually even take the shot, though,
yeah,
so
I was
probably
gonna
not.
say, yeah.
He did give the order.
But that's what I'm saying, is it's not like he was like, I'm gonna miss-aim here, because he didn't take the shot. He just ordered someone to. So, anyway, moving on to the next matchup, we have Luminara Unduli and Poe Dameron. Damn that Poe.
Yep.
Christopher. So, Luminara is the Jedi Master that we were talking about before. Barris's master.
Yep.
Right.
Also a Mirialan.
Correct. At the
Diamond chin,
Genosis.
yellowish skin, black outfit.
She does survive Order 66, but is shortly captured thereafter. Or captured shortly thereafter by the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
That was such a cool arc in Clone Wars, or Rebels, where they think she's alive. Oh, and then Poe Dameron, the snappy hero of...
The hotshot pilot.
The hotshot pilot.
Treasonous hotshot pilot.
Mutinous.
Yeah.
Arguably, yeah, sure.
Tomato,
so there we go.
I'm
gonna go with Poe. He's
really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Poe was clearly willing to sacrifice lots of pilots to save the rebellion.
Sacrificing yourself.
Oh, right.
Not
Sorry.
sacrificing others.
Well, he does fly
he
in
goes
against
up
the Dreadnought
on his
by
own.
himself.
Yeah.
So that's pretty gutsy.
Absolutely.
With an experimentally retrofitted X-Wing, apparently.
Yeah. An afterburner thing on it. I do think he does have more panache than what Luminara does.
Oh, for sure.
He also goes and throws himself into fighting Kylo Ren, of all people, in order to buy time for BB-8 to escape.
Yeah. And Luminara is much more reserved in murdering people.
Yes.
Poe strikes me as a Cassian kind of guy who would shoot you in the back if needed.
Well, I mean, given the fact that he commits mutiny, he does have a certain amount of ruthlessness.
Yeah.
Where Luminara is very much like, let's play by the rules, let's not kill people. I mean, that's kind of where Barriss gets her sensibilities about taking life, is from Luminara, which is like only in the most extreme circumstances.
Right. Yeah. Surprisingly enough, now after discussing it, I am inclined to agree. I mean, the whole traitor thing does hurt him, in my opinion, but we're not really talking about anything that really covers that.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys are in agreement, then I was leaning towards
I was
Luminara,
thinking Luminara after we started getting into it. Poe just seems more heroic in like the traditional, like masculine, like I'm gonna crash through a window on a rope kind of a thing.
Which is part of the point of Last Jedi, is undercutting that and being like, just because he looks like that doesn't mean he's actually...
Well, but I think it's one of those where he makes the mistakes, but he's got it where it counts.
Oh, definitely, I'd say that.
But he is willing to put himself on the line, like when he takes control of the bridge before Leia, before he realizes it's Leia. I mean, he's got his gun drawn. He's like, this is for the greater good. Like, this will save more lives, even if I have to kill a couple of you.
But even like the things that we just talked about,
and people that he loves and knows too. Now that I think about it, I mean, that's a pretty big sacrifice to be like, I could in a minute be killing somebody that I like, that is my pal, but I'll do it to save a couple hundred other people.
For Poe, to go up against Kylo 1-1, for him to go up against a Dreadnought, who he says himself are fleet killers 1-1. That takes a lot of guts.
Well, technically he goes up 1-1 against... does he go up against it? No, he went...
He goes
he goes up, yeah, that is on the
Dreadnought.
Dreadnought. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, he clears everything out so everyone else can get in.
Yeah.
Clear. That takes more guts than anything I think I've seen Luminara do. And granted, there aren't as many experiences, but for being a Jedi, he's doing more with less, is one thing that I'll go back to. Mm-hmm. Right? He's not a Jedi. He goes up against Kylo Ren, who's one of the most formidable ever, as according to our last bracket. I mean, he's doing a lot. Again, that treason thing hurts him, but I don't know.
He also does eventually learn from that.
He does.
You might have convinced me, Ross, because he wins the panache, question. He wins that category.
Yeah, great. Well, it's Oscar Isaacs, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So he definitely wins that category. She does better on the restraint. But he does do a lot more with less, as you're saying, with the sacrifice.
Yeah.
So that's 2 out of 3.
Do we have any instances where she explicitly is willing to sacrifice herself for others? Because
I think that's part of the problem, is that we just don't see.
Yeah, we don't have as much of her.
She sends her Padawan into the droid factory.
Padawan explicitly volunteers because they know it best. But...
trying to think. She goes against Ventress.
Yeah, she does.
Alone, and after being blinded, still tells her Padawan, and crushed a little bit, like she's pinned under some bulkhead.
I was
she's got
that's what I was trying to remember.
Blinded in her face, and she tells her Padawan, or she tells Ahsoka,
yeah,
to get out of here. Like, I'll buy you time. I'll fight this witch. You get out of here. And Ahsoka's like, you're gonna get killed, and she's like, yeah, it'll still buy you time. Leave.
But see, that's again still where it goes to she does more with less, because so for a Jedi Master who's sitting on the council to go up against a Sith Padawan is different than a regular dude with a gun going up against
a Jedi Master with the Force who is currently pinned under a starship's bulkhead and blind.
But being blinded doesn't really seem to be an issue for Kanan.
It's not an issue for... There are a lot of Force users in and out of current canon that that's not too much of an issue for. It does initially,
though, for Kanan, and we're talking about literally the minute after she gets blinded by hot embers.
Kanan was also just barely a Jedi Knight. She has a lot more Force sensitivity than what he would.
No, but what I'm saying is, by the time... Like, Kanan gets blinded at the end of the season, and then... time passes and we see him. So we have skipped over all the time that it took Kanan being clumsy and awkward to the point where we go, well, clearly he can deal with being blind. Yeah, because he's dealt with it for like a year.
Right, but his experience not even being a real Jedi Knight.
Bird Box challenge, Ross. Go blind right now. How do you fight with a lightsaber?
But see, but she makes up for it for having years of being a master and being that much more in tune with the Force than what he does. So I mean,
I'd say it's 6s at that point.
Still,
because she clearly is seen to be distraught and disoriented. Mm-hmm. So she may have all this stuff, but the evidence is showing that she is distraught and disoriented.
But again, if I remember right, she does also recover quickly.
I don't even know why we're arguing. I want Poe to win.
Yeah.
No, you want Poe to win, but do you think he should?
I think there is the 2 out of the 3 categories we're using. He wins. So.
Yep. Okay. I was leaning Luminara, but if you are both on that, I will give you Poe.
Yep. Oh, this one will be fun.
Alright. So, our next matchup is Terra Sinube. Alright, sure. And Padme Amidala.
And I still have final say in the edit, so our listeners may not have any idea what I'm referring to right now.
Oh, shoot. Anyway.
Please do, Ross. That would be hilarious.
Let's cut it out and leave it in.
No, cut it out, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cut it out and just have Kyler just being like, and then you just be like,
I have ultimate power here.
Unlimited power!
Wow.
Woo!
You just gave me a great idea for like a censored block, right? Quote unquote, instead of... Anyway, never mind. I'll deal with it later.
Oh, man.
So, Padme is the senator from Naboo who was originally queen at a very young age.
The youngest queen ever elected.
Who meets up and starts getting the hots for an 8-year-old, apparently, at the age of 12.
No, 14.
Or 14. Right.
She was 14 and he was like 9, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
too young.
Nevertheless,
Still.
It's a 5-year gap. At that age is unsettling.
Yeah. Goes on many, many adventures because she's a spunky senator.
She's a senator. I would argue that
You
she's
know,
not
at her
particularly
age, if we
spunky,
follow the rules, right? Half your age plus 7. 14 is the minimum for you, Padme.
That's-
Half your age plus 7. He's
That's
too
true.
young.
You can't start
Oh,
dating
yeah, it
younger
would be
people
so.
until you're
That's
at least
true.
15.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
you've got a narrow gap.
Yes.
Them's the rules.
I'm still surprised at how good that equation works.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird. Anyway,
Because if you're 16 and she's 15, you know, it's like, okay, that's not like super weird, you know?
And Yoda, meanwhile, can date 457-year-olds. I mean, that's
Throttle,
awesome.
man.
there's another cut.
Yep.
But no, actually,
Oh,
I think
shoot.
Padme's quite spunky because, I mean, you see her do lots of stuff in Clone Wars. We just finished the Thrawn Alliances where she's all off on her own and then doing all sorts of...
In one of the more
you say so.
uninteresting plots in Star Wars. I'm sorry, Timothy Zahn. That just went on far too long.
I have
understand.
theories on that, and we will talk later.
Okay.
Anyway, probably in a Thrawn episode, now that I
Yep.
think about it. And then you're going to have to do...
Terra Sinube, he has kind of a bird beak. He's a Jedi Master,
Terra is
super old.
dude. Huh?
Yep. He is kind of like a male Jocasta Nu, almost. Like, he pretty much just lives in the archives.
Okay.
He's got a cane. So, you've seen, like, cane swords, maybe? He has a cane lightsaber. Literally, he pops the top off his wooden cane, and it's a lightsaber handle.
Nice.
And so then he can ignite it.
Good times.
I put him on this list because he's really cool. I am a big fan of heroes and villains that will outsmart their opponent rather than just beat them, right? Beat them down,
Absolutely.
Braun style. So Terrace Nube, there's a whole arc where Ahsoka basically learns this lesson that brain over brawn. That Ahsoka loses her lightsaber, and so they spend this entire episode tracking down the criminal who took her lightsaber. Along the way to solving the mystery of how to get her
Oh, that guy.
lightsaber back,
That's
Terra
right.
Sinube solves like 4 other crimes.
Yeah.
Like, he just
Yeah.
comes into a room, he's like, oh, well, I noticed this and this. Oh, yeah, don't worry, I've already called the authorities and told them. They'll be here in a minute. Like just on the way to solving this one mystery.
You guys ever watch Monk?
Yeah.
That makes me think of the episode where someone steals his newspaper, commits a murder in the process, and he's like, why would someone be that determined to keep me from my newspaper? So he gets a copy of the newspaper and just starts reading through, looking for anything significant, and solves like 5 or 6 crimes across the world. Like, you've got him on the phone with inspectors in France where he's like, no, it was the wife. It was the wife. And they're like, how would he know?
Yeah. So he's really cool that way, that he can outsmart his opponents. Like, Ahsoka is so intent on, like, chasing the criminal down. She's, like, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. It's this really cool looking chase scene throughout Coruscant. And she, like, gets the criminal cornered, and they're, like, on a subway, basically. And it opens, and there's Terra Sinube waiting for them.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've got you. Like, totally knew where it was going. Like, he's just so smart. He's way cool. So, in that sense, I'm going to say he's got panache.
So that's from Rebels?
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, good, okay.
Yeah, that's like season
I'll get to that
3,
first,
I think. He's this old Jedi Master. He's been around for ages and ages. But that's his specialty, by the way, within the Jedi Order, is crime investigation. Like, that's his thing. He's
awesome.
rooting out crime on Coruscant.
Oh, that's really awesome.
I
like this guy more and more by
he's
the
kind of
second.
like a really old Sherlock Holmes. Like, if Sherlock Holmes were like 95 and couldn't really run anywhere or fight, but he still has his brain.
Have you ever seen Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, Ian McKellen is.
Yeah. So kind of like that, but a little bit faster.
Yeah.
A little bit more intense. And he's like, he
kind of
walks
like
really
that, but still a
slow
Jedi.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So who you going with?
So yeah, this Terra Sinube versus Padme
Terra Sinube is
Amidala.
who I'm going with.
I also am.
Padme's cool,
he
and she
beats
is very willing to self-sacrifice.
She can be quite heroic, but
especially throughout the Clone Wars. We see a lot
her
of
heroism
self-sacrifice.
is rather crimped severely by her just horrendous judgment in
men.
relationships.
Yeah.
You're right, in relationships, plural, because all of her like ex-boyfriends that we meet throughout the Clone
they're bad
Wars
too.
are all terrible. They're all separatists, like
That's
bent
true.
on
And how she
galactic
could
domination.
possibly just commit herself to someone who doesn't like sand. I mean, that's appalling. It's appalling. Sand is awesome.
It reminds me of a meme I saw. I found like a treasure trove of Star Wars memes. I posted them in the group.
Yeah.
So if you're not in the Facebook group, you are missing out on delightful memes.
Yes.
And there was one of Anakin when he sends out the message on Geonosis to
Yep.
be like, they've got a factory here. And he's like,
Obi-Wan
where's
sends that,
Obi-Wan, where he's like, where's Anakin? wait, what's he doing on Tatooine? He hates sand.
I know.
I was dying at that. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Oh man. So join the group, guys. Little plug there. That way you can join in the fun. So yeah, Tara Sinube wins.
Yep. Russ?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
He has a lightsaber, so his lethal potential is still pretty high, but he's not killing anybody. And he specifically outsmarts people so that they can get caught by the police and he doesn't have to fight them.
Yep.
So, I mean, a lot of restraint there. He's so cool, man.
Oh, here we go.
No question on this next one either.
Yeah. Well,
no.
Well, let's see. So, we've got, for our 14th matchup, we have Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson himself,
he's so good.
versus Amelin Holdo.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
A.k.a. Vice Admiral Holdo, best known as Laura Dern, I believe. Yep, yes. Laura Dern. The purple-haired angel.
She's best known as Laura Dern.
Yes, best known as Laura Dern. Apparently not, since I had to, wait, what's her real name? One of those actresses who was like, oh yeah, I know her face. She's amazing. She's great. What is her name? The purple-haired angel Vice Admiral from The Last Jedi.
We have one movie for both of them to pull from.
Yes.
Ooh, that's true. We do have some more Clone Wars stuff.
There is definitely
Qui-Gon.
more ancillary
him a
material
couple
for
times.
Qui-Gon, yes.
Yeah. Although Amelin Holdo is pretty prominent in Leia, Princess of Alderaan.
Is
the
she?
book.
Is she?
By Claudia Gray. It's pretty good. I recommend it.
Cool.
That's actually one that I was like, yeah, that was worth reading.
I had heard good things about that.
So,
the restraint when it comes to lethality.
Holdo doesn't seem overly unwilling to shoot people.
well, on stun.
Nonetheless,
I mean, that's a little different.
But Qui-Gon's stuff is mostly defensive.
When does she shoot someone on stun, though? I mean, it's Leia shoots him down on stun.
Yeah.
When they start to take back the Radis, when she's being held up, and then things happen, and there's this smoke, and she
kicks dangerous gas into the face of brave rebel pilots.
Oh, stop.
I mean, that's also the scene that everyone loves, the outtake, because she couldn't not say pew when doing it.
That's right.
Laura
Dern was sitting there the whole time.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Oh, yeah. Every time she shot a gun on set, she was just going pew pew.
Yeah,
pew.
she couldn't.
To
stop.
be fair,
they could
I
not
don't
get a
think
single
I would
take.
have done anything different. Like it would be impossible. I'm on a Star Wars set. You give me a blaster. How can you not go pew pew?
Yeah.
Honestly, that's so delightful. I love it. Okay, wow, that makes me like Episode 8 just slightly more.
I'm trying to think of any specific examples of Qui-Gon showing restraint either, though, aside from not killing Jar Jar over the course of that movie.
If you look at his lightsaber fighting with Darth Maul, it's all defensive, especially like that first time in the desert. He's not trying to kill Darth Maul. He's basically just going, okay, let me buy everybody time to get on the ship, then I'm going to run away. I'm not going to kill you.
See, and my opinion of that one is he's trying to learn what's going on. Like, how does this guy fight? When you're fighting someone, you don't want to overcommit until you have a good idea of what's going to happen. And so you do fight defensively first, especially fighting someone you haven't fought before. Again, that's something that a sword person, a fighting person would know, which I don't think the movie makers did, so maybe they did.
Well, but Ray Park, though, would know.
Yeah, but that would be down to
But
the
also, if you look at the
choreographer.
second fight, though, the final fight, Duel of the Fates, his stuff is a lot of feinting, and you know what I mean?
There's a lot of that in the whole fight, even with Obi-Wan. It's tough. That's a tough call.
Well, no, and Obi-Wan as well, or Qui-Gon as well. His whole initial conversation with Obi-Wan as they're waiting and stuff is like, "Okay, just be patient, calm down. Let's just wait and see how things go." Like that seems to be in his character is, let's not rush into things. Mm-hmm. Let's not be rash. Well,
I mean, just between the two movies. Oh well, never mind. I take that back. I was about to say we never see either of them kill anyone except for some droids in Qui-Gon's case, and then I remembered Holdo hyperspeeding a ship through another ship.
Yeah,
so that's a little more.
But that's major points in the sacrificing herself for the greater good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there is that.
But massive negative points in the I try to avoid taking life.
Well, but even that she did avoid it though.
Yeah.
Like for most of that, she did that as a last ditch resort.
Right, she waited about
able...
10 minutes before turning around.
That's the thing is, it's literally all she could do. She didn't have any other options in that case.
I'm still going Qui-Gon. Make whatever arguments you want. I'm not going to give it to Holdo.
See, but that's the thing, is that's not very compelling either. It's like, I know you're not, and that's
I know.
that's hardly a compelling argument.
Ugh.
See, honestly, I have a hard time deciding between the two. I mean, Qui-Gon does have Jedi Mastery level training. So, we've used that before. Jedi Masters know how to use restraint. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's when I saw this, I was like, that is... At first I was like, my first impulse was Qui-Gon, but at the same time... Well, but that's the thing, though, is I'm like, even Panache, like, I don't really feel like one of them has the leg up in Panache.
The way she dresses.
I will grant I am not crazy. I am not crazy about her dress, but that's the thing, is I'm like, she's got some flair there, and basically what Qui-Gon has going for him with Panache is that he is Liam Neeson. Like,
and he rocks the ponytail, let's be real.
And a great beard.
He does.
That is a nice beard.
Have a good beard.
You just want to rub your face on it.
Yeah. But purple hair, guys. I mean, come on.
And an angel halo.
And a halo. Like,
and a flowing practical
how many
dress.
people do you know with the self-assurance to walk around in a position of military authority wearing a frickin' halo?
And it's not even Halloween. That's fair. That's fair. Oh, make your call, Ross. You're going Holdo. I'm going.
I'm waiting to hear.
Because when in thinking about Panache, if the two of them walk into a room at the same time, who do you notice first?
You notice her because she's dressed like a peacock.
Who has a better presence? I think is a better way to put it.
Okay,
I think
you're going to
Qui-Gon-
notice her
Qui-Gon
first
wins that
because of the color, but then the gravitas, the command of the room, it's going to be Qui-Gon.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
definitely.
So Qui-Gon gets that first. As far as I feel like when the two of them walk into a room, I feel like he just commands more presence than she does.
I don't know if he'd even choose to. The guy was generally pretty unassuming. It seemed to be what his MO was.
As much as possible, but that's the thing, is even with that, I think you still notice him first.
Well, but when he takes command, though, where he's like, okay, this is the throne room, like, we're in talking with you, here's how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, I have tried to, talk you into this. I'm taking control now because this is... You need to not die.
And when Padme is pestering him, he turns around and just is like, the Queen respects my judgment,
Yeah, shut up.
He's also dealing with a 14-year-old girl.
And a Jar Jar at the time. His rope is pretty thin. He's getting snippy.
Very true. And the sand, I mean...
The sand, it's everywhere. It gets in his beard.
It's not a good situation.
Yeah.
And I would also say that Holdo's self-sacrifice, while it is something that I complain about the heavy-handedness of it, it is pretty dang significant.
It is.
Yeah.
So I think he gets Panache, she gets self-sacrifice, but I think...
Restraint and lethal restraint.
No, it's not necessarily just universally restraint, it's the ability to win a battle without killing.
And I think a Jedi is going to win that most of the time.
Well, especially because they both win their battles, in theory. Darth Maul dies, one person.
Yeah,
how many thousands of people die?
Qui-Gon does not defeat Darth Maul.
Right, so nobody dies. Well, he dies then in his battle. Yeah. One person dead.
But she failed to win a battle without killing anyone. He failed. He lost.
She also failed to win a battle without killing anyone.
That is true.
She killed thousands and thousands of people.
But see,
she would make a great contender on our villains bracket.
I don't know. No, I don't.
I killed thousands of people with one move.
The people that died in the First Order Armada, honestly, I do not count that against her one bit.
Well, sure. I mean, not as much as...
It's literally she's going to her death to protect the dregs of the rebellion as they flee. She has no other option. She can't fly the ship and shoot from the ship at the same time.
Yeah, not with the capital.
Yeah. But Qui-Gon, as a Jedi, his ability to mind trick, to even use the Force...
In theory, but we don't often see him do that. And I'm also going to point out, just in general behaviors, Qui-Gon is also a man who basically robs a man blind.
He is questionable. He does have questionable morals.
He's definitely he's kind of a wild card out there. I'm not saying he's not heroic.
But rather than holding up his lightsaber, he does it in a way that Watto would respect, right? Instead of when he can't mind trick him,
but at the same time, he knows that if he holds up his lightsaber, the second he leaves, Watto's going to call the Hutts and be like, "Hey."
It was a metaphor, Chris. Just hold on. Rather than physically threatening him with something, he uses the Force to control how the dice land. And then when Watto doesn't...
To cheat, yes.
Sure. But it's important, Chris! I would still go with Qui-Gon.
So the lesson we've learned today, listeners, from Ross, is that you can cheat and rob people blind as long as it's important.
And you have the Force.
Right. Presumably. Okay, thank you, Ross.
Our listeners are smarter than that. You can go ahead and say whatever you want.
Okay, I'll give it to Qui-Gon.
Alrighty.
Alright.
2 background people.
Alright, next up we have Jedi Master Sifo Dyas and Zet Jukasa.
Zet Jukasa is George Lucas's son that plays a Jedi.
Oh,
That gets shot down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's who that is, and that's really all the more information we have or need on him.
But where does he get shut down? Which Jedi is this?
Bail Organa, the one in front of Bail, where he's like, "Get out of here!" You know, they're attacking whatever, and then they shoot him down.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that.
I don't think he says anything.
Yeah. He comes
He
out.
just jumps down.
Yeah, comes running out. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's more of a Padawan, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, he's a Padawan.
Yeah, okay.
Padawan.
And then Bail takes off.
Right.
So that's that.
Which I always wondered at that scene, like, Bail hurries to get in his speeder and flies away as if he's under attack, but he's not.
I think he was afraid of like the leave no
Yeah,
witnesses.
yeah,
thing.
exactly. I
That's
always
my
look
thing.
at that.
I don't.
way. Yeah,
I don't blame him at all. I'd be peacing out too.
But then also the clones are like, no, let him go. Well,
because they don't have orders about keeping this clone. Yeah, they probably weren't, but they, in where he's standing.
Yeah, he doesn't know they won't kill him.
I understand his side, but it's also the clones that are like, why were they going to try and shoot a senator who was just coming to see what was going on?
They weren't, but Bail doesn't know that, which is why Bail is going, I just watched him kill a Jedi, what are they going to do to me?
The one clone says to the other next to him, stop, let him go.
As Bail is flying away.
Right.
So one of the clones got carried away, and the other one was like, whoa, that's not what we were ordered to do. Like, back it up, let him go.
I don't see why that clone even had any justification in the first place to that.
Well, he probably didn't. He's just gun happy. He's just trigger happy. Man,
of the clones
you get in the
were.
middle of battle and the blood's raging, you just want to kill all the senators.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Who can blame anyone for wanting to kill senators?
We'd like to thank the FBI and CIA for listening to our podcast.
Oh, please.
Hi, NSA!
Oh, please. If you'd seen half of my internet search history for researching stories, the FBI and NSA have been listening to this from the beginning just because I'm here. Like, seriously.
Well, we hope you guys are enjoying. I wonder if those were the others listed.
That
in our
could be
stats.
there.
That's right. The ones that have no
The
location.
15 downloads that just say U.S. other.
The sheer amount of ways I know of to dispose of a corpse at this point, I mean, yeah.
Good to know.
I've been on there. I've been on the radar for a while. Master Sifo Dyas, being, of course, the Jedi Master who may or may not have ordered the clone army.
Right.
Didn't order the clone army.
But he did, because we see it in the Clone Wars. Yeah.
Never mind that.
Yep. So there
Despite
we
the
go.
fact that his name was originally a typo meant to be Sifo Dyas. For
So
Sidious.
dumb. Glad that typo happened.
Yeah, me too.
So, Jack clearly willing to sacrifice himself. I personally think he
yeah.
was trying to kill the clones so he could escape, and be like, oh, there's somebody there, the clones will kill him, let me cut these guys down and we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then when he realized that wasn't an option,
Yells
did his
for-
best.
He dies yelling for someone else to escape.
Yeah.
That's always a good.
Panache, Zet has a lightsaber. But
Arguably so does Sifo
Bail.
Dyas.
Oh, Sifo. Oh wait, I was thinking Bail Organa. Sorry, that was in my mind. I'm like, but Bail has a cape, so never mind. Sifo Dyas.
Bail is also Jimmy Smits. I mean,
Yeah, that's I couldn't think of the actor's name, so I was like, yeah, he's pretty great.
From what little I remember of Sifo Dyas, he's quite plain, just all the way around.
Yeah, and a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
When we see him, because he's super obsessed with this vision that he's had of the galaxy going into war and whatever.
I'm just gonna go with Zet just because I think Sifo Dyas is.
High five, Ross.
all
I'm gonna
right.
go Zet.
Did you think I was gonna go with Sifo Dyas?
I don't know, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna go Zet just because I don't know. It feels right.
All right. And our final matchup for this episode, we have Jedi Master Mace Mother effing Windu and Garazeb Aurelios.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so Garazeb Aurelios is from Star Wars Rebels. He's big and purple and based off an initial sketch of what a Wookiee might possibly look like.
Mm-hmm.
Only when they were a lot less hairy.
Yes.
Bigger eyes, things like that.
Wider heads.
Yeah. He's a great fighter, great warrior. part of the Lasat honor guard, so like basically a royal bodyguard. He's kind of gruff and grumpy on the outside, but he is pretty willing to sacrifice himself, even for members of the team he doesn't particularly like Chopper and Ezra.
Yeah.
That being said, his lethal restraint is pretty low. He's pretty willing to kill people, and usually has to be talked into, why shouldn't we kill this person? You need to give me 3 good reasons right now. Panache, he's cool. He's a big, cool-looking alien. He's got a sweet gun that also transforms into like an electro staff kind of thing. And then there's Mace Windu.
It's Mace Windu.
Now, the two...
The only person to canonically have a purple lightsaber.
Yep.
And also the hilt is very like chromed and
like golden chrome.
Yeah, it's extra fancy.
It's very cool. So I think Panache, Mace Windu is going to take it. I mean,
it's Samuel Jackson.
It's Samuel Jackson with a purple lightsaber.
Yeah,
it doesn't get cooler than that.
Period.
Yeah,
dude could be walking around in his skivvies. He's fine. He's got the panache.
Yeah. So lethal restraint. Mace wins.
Unless it were Oscar Isaacs on the other side, and then
you'd have to have a walk off.
Yeah, that'd be tricky.
Like Zoolander.
That would be quite the wife.
So can they both turn left?
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh man. So Mace has already won 2 then for sure.
Yeah. And I feel like Mace,
the self-sacrifice. I don't know. I would say that's probably 6s.
Yeah. Just because Zeb does actually have a good.
He's got a good heart. He's just rough on the outside.
Yes, very much.
But Mace still wins the other 2.
Yeah, I would say they'd be equal on self-sacrifice, but Mace winning the other 2, that puts Mace ahead for me.
So there you go. Holy cow, we finally made it, guys.
All right, that is the first half of round 1 of our bracket. Next time we do one of these, which will not be our next episode, we will have another 32 heroes, 16 matchups.
Yep.
And then we'll come back for a third episode where we do all the second, third, fourth round into the finals.
Well, it should be fun. So this will play out exactly like our villains bracket if you've listened to that. It'll be the same idea. Anyway, we do hope that you have enjoyed this episode as much as we did. It was good fun. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @MoreCivilized. Let us know if you thought somebody else should have advanced and didn't, and why. And really, for reals, the Anakin Ahsoka thing. Like, I want to hear more about
I want to hear you guys tell us about Qui-Gon and Holdo. So
Ooh.
Yeah, that was the other one.
Yeah, that's true. Good discussion. So let us know. On Twitter would be great. Or also, you can join the Facebook group, A More Civilized Podcast, if you just search for that. There's 2 things that will pop up. One is our page, one is the group. You can find one through the other, but join the group. Yeah. So do that. Let us know.
Yep. Normally we do shout-outs here, but again, we did that before, so thank you again to OPC Killa for the help on naming this episode.
Yep. It's all you, bud.
Yep. You can speak with me on Twitter @Mr_R*star.
Yes. One more reminder that you can find me in a few weeks, the 14th through the 16th of February this year, 2019, at LTUE in Provo, Life, the Universe, and Everything Symposium. I will be talking about video games and folklore, so come on down. And
so fun.
I am looking forward to it. It's going to be low key for me this year. No personal presentations, so that'll be nice. And let us know if there's any topics you want us to ramble on about for a while, and we can do that. Yep. We are adequate in that ability.
Yeah. So, thank you again for listening, and may the Force be with you.
Always.
I'm Anna Graves, and thank you for listening to A More Civilized Podcast.
I have ultimate power here.
No, you have unlimited power!